Welcome. This will be our first video version of the Soulfeed podcast. Hopefully we get to do a lot more of these and bring in more of the community and build some more structure around them. I'm just going to stick this one up completely unedited on here. I will edit it for the podcast. So if you want the edited version, go ahead, listen to the podcast. Obviously, you can hear that on any of your podcast stuff. Just type in 9 Foot Night Killers and you'll get that. Or you can go through our website, hit podcasts, and all the links are there. And to try and give some context to where the video drops in, we're having a discussion on the 2021 9 Foot Night Killers calendar. And Dunks was saying he'd need a few pages for himself, and Mike was suggesting how he should lay out his pages.
Slowly working the way up.
Yeah.
Just a couple of empty pages for your legs.
Mate, savage.
Savage.
I'm so glad I hit record before you said that.
No.
Oh, I got it. Oh, that's so good.
I was at that top right-hand corner.
That word that says
funny.
recording.
Yeah, I was like,
Oh,
I'm just going to leave this go for a minute and then I'll hit record. But then I was just like, no, I'm just going to do it and I'll edit it later. And then you were like, yeah, straight in there.
Straight in. Come on. I had 2 sips of coffee. I'm good to go.
Oh,
Cool. So basically, this is going to be a episode of Soulfeed. If you're not drinking Soulfeed, then obviously, hopefully, you're going to show us a cup of tea.
I am this morning.
Mm.
It's good now.
It
I
is
need to
good,
order
isn't
some,
it?
actually.
Oh, mate. I tell you what, this is what has to be. I know I have to say it, but this has to be my favourite so far.
I think I've made it
Of
a
the
bit
three.
weak. I think I made it. Yeah, it is better than the last one.
yeah, that's why I like it, because it's weak. It's weaker or smoother or something. But
Yeah, this one's a lot
smoother.
lighter and sharper. I think we did a good job
nice,
for the
man.
summer.
oh, it's a summer coffee.
Well, mate, I'm not certain. Knowing, I don't know if that's a thing, but this is.
It is now.
Yeah,
It is now. Yeah, exactly.
and it'll very quickly become an autumn one at some point.
And then a winter one. Just
Yeah.
make it. Just do doubles.
Yeah, just smash
I
some
found that
pumpkin spice in there.
coffee's making me really, really snappy.
Really?
That's not a coffee.
Just-
That's been locked inside all the time. People
That's
they
the,
say,
that's the lack of whiskey in the coffee.
Yeah. I don't know, mate. It's weird. I'm like, if I have coffee, then a few hours later, I'm angry.
Yeah.
Time's acceptable to start putting whiskey in. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
what time's acceptable? To be fair,
Anytime.
yeah, I would have gone with about 9 o'clock this morning. In fact, about 5:30.
Oh my God! You were complaining about being here for 10. Now you're.
What, you were
no,
taking
now
a
you're
whiskey
telling
at
me.
5:30 in the morning?
Might as well, mate. I tell you.
It's like Razigo. Remember that
Yeah.
that whiskey-fueled Fijian ex-debt collector? That's what you're like, mate. Whiskey at 5:30 in the morning.
I remember him having an argument with James on the lines out in Iraq about not carrying an entrenching tool, and I thought he was. I thought he was going to bury this thing in James. I was just like,
James.
yeah, I can't.
As in,
That's his surname, isn't it? Oh, now.
Yeah, he had the big round head.
yeah,
now
fat James. As in, yeah, he had a head like a 4-tonner wheel arch.
Yeah, and only
I'll have to
only
get him.
Taff Richards could move his head.
Hey,
He was that strong.
he was mate, he was in the back of my jackal in Afghan, and we was having a little bit of a dust up on a river one day, and I was asking him. Everyone else stopped firing, and he kept firing. I'm like, "What are you firing at? What are you firing at?" And he's like, "The enemy." Like, where are they? And he just made it. I was like, "You fucking muppet, absolute dickhead." Sort of the enemy. Yeah, nice one, mate.
Yeah, nice one, treacle.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I'm gonna throw a subject out there, and I don't think we'll stay on it for very long. But there's I was thinking about cohort development. I think we'll probably come back around to that one. But I think what an interesting one for us, that's a subject we've probably all covered, is like inspection and rehearsals, and how that relates into the way you kind of have carried on your life. In as much as I know that, for example, I'll be like, I'll load the car or whatever, and it'll be like, I'll check everything that's there or whatever. Or you want to, before I pack to go away to the States on a trip, I lay everything out on my bed. And I know that sounds like super noddy, but like for me, that's like an inspection of myself, because I have zero trust in myself. Like I'm not even going to 10% this. This is 100% check of this man.
My own kit.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
own gear. And then I do the thing with the, let's say I'll use the kids as an example. I'll be turning around and be like, have you got this? Have you got that? Have you got this? Show me this. Do you know what I mean? So I've carried it.
Yeah.
I've carried it on. And I'm not saying mothers don't do that, but I'm saying like, you think these skills that we've written down and have been taught, they came from somewhere, right? They came from like tribes, moving, nomadic people, whatever. And they've ended up in our doctrine and our policy or whatever, in the way we do things. But like when it comes to an inspection, like how do you remember like an inspection going from like your perspective on basics to you doing an inspection before like going out on the ground? Like for example, Donk, before you went out on that job with James, like what inspections did you guys carry out? Like,
Mate, I'll tell you what, like, I guarantee every single person on this chat now has heard it. If it's not checked, it's not done, right?
Yeah.
Feezy.
I'll tell you,
Yeah,
mate, honestly, you can trust people 100 million%, right? But unless you check, then you've got
Absolutely.
no recourse.
Yeah.
There's no recourse. And, mate, even on exercise, you've always got one person that might be having a bad day, or he's a bit of a...
Goon.
Yeah. And you can guarantee he's tired, they're tired, something's wrong. If you don't check, mate, you're just asking for failure. And I don't think that's about being anal. I don't think that's being anal. Like, I just think it's good drills,
No.
You're just covering human nature, aren't you? Because
Yeah,
not
you
everybody
are,
gets it
mate.
all the time. And then you're
No.
just doing that sweep up of like, did you pick it up? Yeah, I got it. Thinking, I know you haven't got it, so
Yeah.
let's check. So
Yeah.
I remember like being on basics and being instructor on basics. And then like after you think, like being on basics, it's like 1,000,001 things you got to get into a large pack. Like how's that
Yeah.
going to work for a start? And then as an instructor on basics, you're like checking like everything they've got in their life in the inspection, making them carry everything.
Yeah.
And then the reality is, when you go in operations, you're like, have you got your bullets? Have you got your gun? Have you got your water, rations, radio, a map? Show me your map. Make sure it's the right map. Like med kit, good to go. Put your boots on. Do you know what I mean? It's that whole. Although you do the inspection.
why have you not got your boots on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
mate.
Why are you in your pants?
There's nothing wrong with fighting in your pants and or naked.
It is good drills, mate. And I think also part of that, like when you've been the guy in basics getting inspected,
Yeah.
and you realise there's nowhere to go. You've got to have your kit, man. There's nowhere to go. There's no flex.
There's no hiding.
I think as time goes on, there's a crossover where you're like, just if I've got it, I've got it. And then I think there comes a time where you realise that actually, if you're the guy that's always got the kit and equipment, you're the guy that's been relied upon, and that's a good feeling. You're never the guy that's picked up for, why have you not got that? You've got to carry it. You've got, and then on the times when you do have a bit of a QRF or whatever, you can be guaranteed, mate, that if you've got it, your boss knows you've got it, or your corporal or whatever. It's just, I don't know, mate. I just think it creates good habits, and that's just a positive, isn't it?
Yeah, there was something that was always said, and that was like reputation buys opportunity. And I think all that someone's doing is set, in those early days, they're setting you up for success. And if when it eventually sticks, and I guess some of us it'll have stuck in different ways. People start to buy in. This guy always shows up. He's always ready. Like, I'm going to check him because that's my, that's part of being, that buddy system. Like you check me, I check you, make sure we're good to go. Just because everyone, like you said, everyone has an off day. But
that's part of the game.
Yeah. But reputation does buy you opportunity. It's like we know this guy's a solid operator. We're going to put him on the team, or this guy's a liability. You know, we're going to avoid putting him on the team.
Well, yeah. I mean, I very nearly lost my role not long after getting it, because me and Duffs, we were going on some ranges, and we fucking neither of us checked each other, and we took an LF28 with no fucking batteries. So that was great, carrying that up and down the hills, you know, onto Cape Wrath, and
good terrain. Yeah,
fucking hell. So we took it, and then you know, the boss wasn't very happy, and rightly so, because you know that was capability lost, and basically we didn't check each other because we assumed that one or the other had done it, because we were in that sort of environment where you don't check because you assume that it's done. And so, you know, I think I'd put the LF28, you know, in the back of the truck before we left, and then Duffs had gone to get some batteries. I just assumed he'd gone to get some LF28 batteries. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And we both fucked up, and that came round sort of once I was on an operational tour and the boss was out visiting. It came up, you know. It was in my annual assessment that had happened. You know, mission critical kit was missing, and it sounds a bit anal when you think about it, but it's fucking true, because if I'd have done that on ops, mission critical kit missing, luckily I wasn't carrying the fucking LF28 anyway at that point, but because it's always good fun. But yeah, if I hadn't been picked up on that, and if a point hadn't been made, then that's when people start just kissing it off and not doing those checks for due diligence, as far as I'm concerned. So
do you
cracked it?
Do you remember when a certain company lost the clue unit in Afghan?
Yeah.
And that was
because
that
was clever.
They lost the whole clue unit, man, for a Jav, and that was the same thing. Mate, someone carried it off the back of a Chinook or a Herc or whatever, laid it down. Someone thought, oh, someone else will grab that. It's a massive box. It comes in a comedy joke size box, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And, you know, same thing, mate. But someone else will get. No worries. No one checked. And as such,
conversely,
mate, I mean, I think the clue units are quite cheap. So
mega cheap, dirt cheap, mate. Conversely,
but then on someone's inventory check, mate, someone's up a clue and someone's down a clue. So.
Yeah, Terry Taliban's up a clue. But on the flip side of that, we had some guys. We were having a bit of a dust up, and we moved the wagons because we were getting ranging fire, you know, from IDF, and we start moving the wagons. I'm covering the next one, and then I see one of the lads dismount, and he sprints not off my vehicle, off the other one, and so I'm thinking, what's that fucking lunatic doing? But the same thing, he was doing his checks for you know, prep to move, checking, and the clue bag wasn't secured properly, had rolled off the back of the Jackal or the MV. And then instead of saying to the driver, go back, when he was in position, he decided, fuck this, dismounted, went lone, mate. And he covered a good sort of, no word of a lie, I reckon it's about 120 metres on foot under incoming fire. Got the clue bag and fucking sprinted back to the vehicle because he was doing his checks. And the commander of the vehicle hadn't checked that everything was good to go, you know. And so, he was doing his a simple drill, prepared to move. Doesn't matter if you're dismounted on the vehicle. Yeah, fucking crazy. But he went and got it. Good drills.
That is good drills, mate, isn't it? Because you can't buy that, can you?
No.
You can't expect the commander to know and see everything. So you're expecting the blokes to be like, potentially dropping a bollock there. You know,
exactly.
That's it.
Yeah, but then that goes back to the original point, isn't it? If he'd done it at the first place when the vehicle was at the compound ready to go, then the commander would have known that's not robust for combat. Do you know what I mean? It's going to come off and we're in a shooting match.
True.
True.
Yeah, that is true.
You know what I mean? You roll it back and you think, well, and then when the preps in you know, when we used to go away to the places to train, and it was hot and dusty. You'd like load the wagons up for like we're going out on the job. You'd be like,
Yeah.
well, at what point didn't you have the kit or didn't practice putting the kit on? So it goes back to that. Like,
That is true.
do you know what I mean? If you strip it all the way back,
that's right. Yeah.
to the first day of like, right, this is the wagon. Where's the kit going to go? Then you're like,
Yeah.
I know it sounds really anal, doesn't it? It
No,
just sounds
no.
really.
It's interesting that like we say that it sounds really anal, but like that's like almost like ego getting in our way, where it's almost like I'm not willing to check you because I think you're so good, or I think that you'll say I'm putting you down by checking. But actually, what you're saying is like I've got you. You know, I'm part of this crew, and I care so much about you that I don't want you to come on stuck, and I want you to do this. You know, I want you to do the same for me. And it's like that, you know, that ownership thing of the responsibility. It's everybody's responsibility to check. And like you said, Dunk, if you know, it's not checked, it's not done. But what you're actually saying to someone by doing it is, I care about you. I care about you enough that I'm going to come along and make sure that you're good to go. And I want you to do the same to me. But it's like, Mike, what you were saying about like checking the gear, but you know, doing rehearsals, like rolling those vehicles, you know, load the vehicles and everything, and then roll them out like 100 meters, 120 meters, and would that clue bag have fallen off before you'd ever left the base?
Mate, remember when you're on basics and you'd put all your stuff in, and you'd have like your teapot and your cup and your knife, fork, spoon and your nan's sink between your two mess tins. You used to have to jump up and down and see if you rattled.
Yeah, that's true.
It's that basic. It's that basic thought of, you know, like, it's like what Dunk said, isn't it? If it's not checked, it's not done. And you used to check each other on ops. Like we check each other, Neil. Do you know what I mean? It's like, have you got your radios? Yeah. Have you got your maps? Let's check. And we'd check our maps. We'd check out. You'd do a radio check between each other. We'd check comms with like the CP and the MOGs, and then you'd be like, right, we're good. And it's so you don't. I don't know. I think initially it's so your blokes are ready, but I think in time when you do it so you're not going to let the bloke next to you down. Like, you make sure that someone's checked you to make sure that you haven't dropped something that's going to let everybody else down.
Yeah,
it's the team, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's the change in professionalism is when you go up to somebody and go, check me. It's not like I've got everything, check me. It's like, check me because I'm only human. I'm going to at some point make an error.
Yeah.
So check that I've got everything, check that my shit's in order.
Well, it's like parachuting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
right.
you do your checks before you even when you're packing your container. That's all checked, and someone else comes and checks it. Chalk commander.
Short
then it's
parade,
checked by then it's checked by the PJIs, and then even like civvy skydiving, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, or skydiving. Everybody checks each other in that plane before you leap out into the unknown, because if not, you're going to fucking die. And it's the same as kit and equipment.
Me and Steve were on a drop zone. We were doing back-to-backs, and so, like you were saying, Pete, you check each other. You know, you pack your rig and everything like that. And for whatever reason, we were changing between our demo rigs and our own rigs. Anyway, last jump of the day, he's like, throw in your demo rig, and we'll do some like canopy relative work. And I was like, all right, sweet. So we both like rushed packing our rigs in, no dramas there. And I pulled mine up, jumped through it on my bag, and they're like, you lads, you need to be there now, the aircraft's rolling. And Steve would like, let's check each other. I check Steve, gear looks good, Steve. He turns around, he checks me, and he pats me on the back, and he's like, that's a reserve ride. And I was like, oh, all right, cool. Ran and literally we ran out, and the plane's taxiing, like they're taxiing, and we like ran and jumped in while it was moving, and they were like, we're gonna leave you. Anyway, jumped out, good skydive, everything, high five, tracked away from each other. I threw my drogue, nothing happened, just a pilot chute in tow. I'm just onto this pilot chute looking around, can't get it out, bang, reserve ride. And I just had total malfunction, pilot chute in tow.
Bloody hell.
And what had happened was I'd pulled the pull-up for the smaller canopy and used it on the bigger canopy, which meant my container was so tightly closed that the pilot chute physically couldn't pop the pin to get my main chute out. And obviously, He called it like,
Fucking
he
hell.
tapped me on the back,
Yeah.
and he's like,
And told you.
that's a reserve ride, mate. It's like,
But at least he told you before you got out.
yeah, he's like, if you want to take it, like you can jump it if you want, but it's a reserve ride. So yeah, you know, do your checks,
Wow.
but also, you know, be humble enough that if
Let's
someone
let's
gives you an
talk
out,
round streaks, yeah. Jesus.
yeah, that
Mate,
reserve nearly
I had
snapped me in
one-
half.
I had one on a Skyvan jump, and it was when some of the guys were being
Skyvan.
trained. Yeah, when they were being trained or they'd been trained as dispatchers, right? And so I was last man in the stick, and then you do your own checks, don't you? Because it's a massive static line; it's all looped round, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or sorry, the what you hook up to. And then I thought I'll just give that a tug, make sure it's done, and everyone else is, you know, moving down the aircraft and exiting, and I like pulled it, and it just like the hook just went in front of me, you know, I wasn't even hooked up. The bloke hadn't even bothered hooking us up, because you do it yourself, and you never, you know, and then and so I said to it, and I was
Brilliant.
just about to go, and I thought, mate, that was lucky. And he turned around to me, goes, "Oh fucking hell, sorry, mate." And I was like, "Yeah, cheers, buddy.
Sorry,
Do you mind hooking me up?" So he hooked me up, and I was obviously just about made the DZ, but yeah,
How
it
did
wasn't. He did not check.
how did Pete die? Yeah. I forgot to hook him up. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, no
Got to get my
inspections,
foot
mate.
on it as
No
he went out the door.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I checked it myself, and I was like, "Cheers, buddy. You mind hooking me up before I fucking dispatch myself?"
Did you say please? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Jesus
mate.
Christ, man.
Brilliant.
But do you think like you know, like some people do not like to be checked, like, you know, like if
Oh,
you go
yeah.
up to someone and you're like, mate, if you you got this, you got that, you got, and they're like, yeah,
Yeah.
you know, like
Massively.
maybe the same rank or maybe one up above you or whatever, and it's like a total insult. And I'll be honest, like I didn't ever really get that, you know. If someone comes up to me and says, mate, have you got that, I always sort of think, happy days, mate, actually, because
Yeah.
if I forgot
Have I?
that, I'd look like a right turkey. Like, you know, I don't know
Yeah.
if it's a sort of personality thing or what. I don't know.
It's ego, I think, mate. It's ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like it's been a common theme, you know, humility and getting that ego aside. You know, if you want to check something, and it's that person's job to check, or even if it's just one of the blokes says, "Oh, mate, have you got this?" or "Can you check me for that?" Then really, I think that's just being able to step aside, get out of your sort of ego, and make sure you're going to be able to do that job correctly.
I've got to say, like, I think genuinely, I don't think I've ever had a boss who has ever taken it badly when you've gone up to them and said, "You're right, boss, you got everything. Do you want me to check this, check that?" I don't think I've ever had one that's sort of been like, you know, "Get the fuck out of here, mate." You know, they've always been, you know, pretty bloody good, really. Like,
Yeah. Not
Just-
immediately
just-
one up. Your one up's always, it's like he understands and you've got his back. But
yeah,
if you
that's
do it- If you do
yeah.
it to somebody like that's two up, their faces, man. They're like, "What are you checking me for?" You're like, well, I'll tell you what, turkey dicks, we're on the ground just about every day, and this is your like once on a tour op
Yeah.
that you're going out of the ground on, and you ain't going to be
Getting
the bloke
my
that's letting everybody
boots
down.
dusty.
Getting my
Yeah.
boots dusty, getting my
Yeah.
time on the ground.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that they don't like that, mate.
Yeah,
No.
and again, all you're saying is I care. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I take it to like
Yeah.
a more. I know obviously we have our like sort of military background, but like you take it to a civilian perspective. You're going to go in and you're going to present to a client or something like that, and you know, and you turn around to the person doing it. You know, you would like to think that they were the person in the best position to give it, and you go, hey, you know, you checked your presentation, you got your notes, this, that, and the other. Do you want me to do anything, this, that, and the other? And they come back at you like, man, I got this, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah, but how many
that's
times at
worrying.
that point? Yeah, how many
That
times at that
concerns
point
me.
do you turn around and go, "High five, big fella, you got it."
Okay, you're all over this, my friend. Yeah.
Yeah. What's
And
your
you
crash
watch.
and burn?
Do you know if you ever watch? I'm not into it, but if you ever watch The Apprentice, when they get to the stage of presenting, and it's amazing how they generally 9 times out of 10 mess it up because not one of them checks each other, not one of them sort of says, Like
yeah.
they don't do any kind of rehearsals before they go in and do the big pitch. Like,
But do you not think that's
you know,
do you not think that's to do with they're all competing to be the top dog, and
exactly.
it's not a team. Where we always
But-
work, even as a pair, you're a team, and then there's places like that is there's no balance. No, they don't want to work together. They want to get over the top of each other, so they're happy to let people just like fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
Where-
That's
you know
just
what I mean?
being on the outside, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's interesting how
It's a very
successful
selfish society.
you
Yeah.
can be as a leader by following more. I know that sounds ridiculous, but like you turn round to someone in their situation that you're using there, like the apprentice, and you are like the massive team player. You know, what do you need to achieve? What you need to achieve? What do you need to achieve to? And actually, all of a sudden, you are the leader. And like anyone's from the outside looking in is going, you know, everyone's saying, oh, he always wants to help me, or she always wants to like have an input and this, that, and the other. And everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm just soaking up all these things off of these other people. But what they don't realize is that person who's the constant support structure for everybody else is the leader. And, you know, when you look back at the project and the success of the project, you know, I'll turn around and say, the only reason I got it done was because Pete did this. The only reason I got it done was because Dunk did that. You know what I mean? And everyone's like, oh, actually,
hold on a minute. Let's go back in your scenario. Why didn't I do anything?
I didn't do it.
Because you're the leader.
Oh.
I was better than those guys though, wasn't I? I was a little bit better, wasn't I?
Yeah, mate, you helped me more than everybody else.
They can't hear me, right?
Yeah, I've muted them now.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. Squeeze
think
of a
You said I
hand.
was special.
Yeah, I think you've all said like that rehearsals as well. Like everyone said about, you know, yeah, you check and you do inspections and stuff like that. But there has to be, you know, if you're putting on a play, you know, the first time you put on a play, everyone's wearing their own clothes and they're carrying a script around in their hand. And then the next time, you know, it's no scripts, but somebody's there to shout out the line if you need it, and etc. We do the same. We do the same thing. You know, noisy and silent rehearsals and things like that.
Yeah.
And to not have the humility, like I know that I've seen it when people are going to do presentations. They're like, "Hey, can I give this presentation to you?" You're like, "Give it to me 100 times if you need to."
Yeah. I walked
It's a good
through
thing.
it. Yeah. Like how many times have you like sat in like orders or whatever, listened to the plan and gone, I have no idea what's going on. And you go out, walk out, look at like the rock drill, or you look at the rehearsal, you go and do the rehearsal and you're like, oh, that's what we're doing. Fine, I've got it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
It's that whole.
I remember even. Oh, go on, mate.
I was just saying that like you can even skip like 70% of the verbal orders and go out and rehearse it, and the blokes get it quicker.
Yeah.
Especially when they're tired. Do you know what I mean? When they're tired and worn out, sat there for 2 hours listening to orders, you're like, get up, get your kit on. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. You know, you've got to do those rehearsals, and even to a point of when I take it back to my FT1 or juniors, whatever you want to call it, and one of my oppos, it was my lead, the small recce patrol, and then we'd done our rehearsals for, you know, different scenarios, and even I did a small rehearsal on the route out, and in terms of the navigation points where I knew I had to make a turn, you know, and then while I was on the patrol, I don't know, obviously I'm leading it, and then I'm away with the fairies thinking about something else, what's going to happen the next step down, because I thought I had the route down to a T, you know, in my head, and then and I stopped, and DS come up, and they're like, what's happening? I'm like, oh, nav check, you know, standard. And then I'm thinking, fucking hell, I don't know where I am. And obviously I get the map out and I'm like, yeah, know where I am. And I was like, fuck me, I'm having a proper brain fart. And one of the lads came up to me, real good mate of mine, and he says, you all right, mate? And he was doing his checks, you know. And I says, oh, buddy, and he wasn't any. He was just he didn't have a role in that patrol in terms of a leadership role. Wasn't 2IC or whatever. And it sounds really Mickey Mouse, but he just gave me that, are you okay, mate? And I'm like, do you know what, mate? I fucking can't remember the next RV. And, you know, I was just about to break out the route card. And he says, oh, don't worry about it. Remember from this, and he told me, because we'd done decent orders and then those rehearsals, and he just stopped me messing up because we covered it all before, you know.
Yeah.
And he just said a couple of words and it reminded me immediately. And then I remembered the next bearing, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you'd set
can't
yourself
buy that,
up
though.
for success.
Yeah. You can't buy that, like, you know.
No.
No,
You
exactly.
And it's
can't,
good that
you can't.
he felt he was able to approach you to be like, how's it going? All right. You know,
Exactly,
it's like,
yeah.
mate, especially on a promotion course, people get a bit shouty. I'm in
Yeah.
charge, and they're not approachable, mate. And you think, well, I want to help you, but you just basically shouting me down, like, so, you know,
Yeah,
and you're like,
that's it.
okay, all right.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
I
a
was
lot of it's
lucky that guy went through
personality too,
basics
Pete.
with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
Isn't
when those people get that Freddy at the end, innit? They do a lot of shouting, don't take any help, haven't got the humility to go, I haven't got a clue what's going on right now. Especially
Yeah.
guys that didn't come from the right background.
Mm.
And then you get to the end and you're like, why didn't you? Oh, no one helped me. You used to hear that a lot.
Yeah.
No one helped
Aye.
me. You're like, mate, the first person you need to
Aye.
help is yourself.
Mm.
Be a little bit
Yeah.
humble and go and
Yeah.
ask the guys who know, and like
Yeah.
just take that
Don't
help.
be a
innit?
douche.
So,
So I think that's
Yeah.
the most important thing about leadership is it's all right to turn around and say, look, I'm only human here, lads. You know, there's 30 blokes. You are infinitely better tuned in to help me than I am to help you in a sense. So, you know,
Yeah.
we're all
Yeah.
part of it. Like, it's as simple as that. Like, but
yeah.
some people just do not like it, man. Jesus.
No.
Yeah.
what action is
So
on
I'm just
and sort of
stopping my dog choking to death. There you go.
well, there you go. Good action on. I like it. Dog choking.
Fucking hell. Yeah, I know, literally, mate. I thought I was going to have to do the Heimlich maneuver on the dog. But
What sort
You
of goes
just
on
wanted
in
to
your
get
house
behind it, didn't you?
with like actions on, and have you like rehearsed them? Like if you know, like I was just thinking about this the other day, like talking to my kids about, you know, if there's a fire, what they should do. If you know, if there's you know, the most ridiculous thing, if there's a delivery at the door, what should they do? If there's this happening, if they see something happening on the oven, God forbid they like ran over to a boiling stove. And I know they're obviously I've made it somewhat basic, but you know, in your house, is there a set of like actions on for something? And have we inspected like the equipment in our houses? Have we done like rehearsals for the things that go wrong in our houses? Like obviously if the dog's choking, what's the plan?
Yeah, I always make sure that, you know, there's shorts hanging on the door.
Yeah.
So like if there's someone knock at the door, I can be dressed by the time I get there.
I like it.
Is
That's
that-
smart.
is that what you- No,
I always
think
make
it's
sure there's
just-
enough water in the kettle.
Yeah, and coffee in the pot. But yeah, I think you do naturally though, don't you? It is. I don't know if people in civilian life do it so readily or easily, but you do. Like, you know, I've moved to a different house. It's like someone knocks on the door, come and find us, and I'll come to the door. That's the drill. Okay. So like someone knocks on the door, they come. It's like, or you hear the door knocked, and you're like, why don't you come and get me? So you like practice the drill, and it's that whole. I think you do naturally in life. You know, it's I don't know.
You adjust your surroundings in a sense, don't you?
Yeah, mate, yeah, completely.
What I think you do. You check
Yeah.
everything out. You make sure everything's where you think it should be.
Do you know what? Yeah. Do you know what it is? When the kids were little and we had those car seats, you know, where they like come over like a
Yeah.
racing driver,
Yeah.
and used to drill them. Like when you get in the car, get in and then slide your arms through, and then wait.
Yeah.
I'll come, crack you in, then tug it to make sure you're good to go. Right? And then
1, 2, 3, 1.
yeah, you know, you just
Stop
like think
moving!
about
One okay, stick okay.
yeah, yeah.
Dad,
Squat, you're
Dad.
gonna go.
Dad,
Dad, I'm 18. Stop it.
shoulder shagging high. Shoulder shagging high. Jesus Christ.
But mate, yeah, I think you do. I think you drill a lot of things in your life that you don't.
I don't think that's a bad thing, though.
Oh, mate, no, not at all. It's not a bad thing.
You know, I think there's a fine line in it, I guess, I suppose. But it's like anything, isn't it? Like, if you're not going to learn from the things that benefit you, there's no point learning from the mistakes, is there? Like, so like, it's a good thing to check where everything is. Your house, you got a fire extinguisher. I don't know. You know what windows open fully in order to like bail out if there is a fire. I don't know. All these different things. You know where the stopcock is to turn your bloody water off.
Yeah, it's no
Or
different.
back to the windows, like half pint frenzy. You know which ones are open, so you can jump out on the half pint frenzy.
Mate, I was about to say the same thing. It's like when you go to a restaurant, how many of you sit with your back against the wall so you can see the door, see the open space, all those things. Do you know what I mean? It's like you just clock the foot traffic, all the things that in your head you don't think about. It's the same in your life, isn't it? It's like, I know if I'm going to go surfing, I'll do a check, make sure I've got everything twice probably before I get in the car. Because, I don't want to get to the beach and go, didn't put my wetsuit in because I didn't check it.
Yeah.
So, it's that
Even all that stuff. You buy a car, I guarantee the silly things you check. Mate, I bought a car a while ago. It was a bit of a shed. However, went to go and check, and I was like, "There's no spare wheel." And now, good job I did check, right? Because you can like go to the scrappies, buy them for like 20 quid or whatever. Job done. I thought, imagine just sat the dual carriageway. Better go and check the tire. Like, there isn't one. Nice one, not it.
Brilliant.
It's like just the little things, like, but you do, didn't you? You take a vehicle over as a young one. You sign for a vehicle because you're the driver, right? Have you checked everything? Yeah. Have you? Checked the toolkit, have you? Check the levels, check this, check that, check that. It's just a good thing, like.
So, Dunks, obviously you said about like, as a young lad, you get given a new vehicle and something like that. And I know that obviously equates to, in the hangar, all the Land Rovers are lined up, all the CEs out in front of them. And, Yap's coming along and he's like, show me your like tow rope and all this, that and the other. And, and then someone like
inspecting the bottom of the trailers.
Yeah. Foskett's in the corner, beeping the horn, going, knock us off. But that being said, like, if you were to pass that on, like I remember as a young man being told, go and show your sister how to change a tire on a car or whatever. And I think that's fantastic that, you go through these things, but the process is, we've talked about knowing where the windows are, knowing where the exits are. Mike's obviously talked about, actions on like someone coming to the door for young children. But like, and you were saying like no wheel on a spare car, you could come up with like a checklist, a basic checklist for life. And it would say things like, if you own a vehicle, does it have everything it needs to do to run? If you're in a property, do you know the exits, this, that, and the other? I think that all these skills that we've learned and been like drummed into us by either our parents or while in our service time, they need to be put down somewhere so people can like action them in life. And I mean, someone listening right now might be like, do you know what? I've never seen where the spare wheel on my car is. Yeah.
I don't know where the stopcock is on my house.
That's wild, right?
In case the bloody radiator poops its pants and like starts spitting water everywhere. What do I do? What do I do?
If you are listening right now and you don't know where your mains tap is, I would encourage you to stop listening, pause us, come back, of course, but pause us and go and find out, please, for my sanity.
How'd you turn your gas off, man? All these things. Like, if you don't know, go and check it. Like, just check. It's not a bad thing. It goes back to being the bloke. Have you got your arc markers and your 50 meters of string? Well, I think it's there. Check it. Just check it.
Check it, because if it ain't checked, it ain't done.
It's true, man.
Mate,
it's a good thing.
Mate, yeah, completely. But then, on the flip side of it, you turn it into your advantage. Where, like, I know before I've been going on a holiday, and you get the whole like, right, lay everything out. We're going to take on holiday. Goes get put on a bed, and then you're like, right, we've got 23 kilos between us. And that's like 84 kilos you've laid out on the bed. So you do that reverse inspection thing. It's like the must go load.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you know what I mean?
Open a window,
Yes, because that doesn't need to go.
I'm not sure I've ever laid anything on my bed that's 84 kilos, mate, but it's up to personal taste, I guess.
That escalated out of nowhere.
Don't put yourself down.
Yeah. Come on, you'll get one that will like at some point.
I'll lay them out.
Lay them out. 168 kilos.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
It is a good skill, man.
It is,
A good skill, I think so.
I pulled up a card for before this, and I know obviously not all of these will be relevant to anybody outside of the military, but it was the noisy rehearsals card, right?
Yeah.
And I was reading it, I was like, I could change the words on this and apply and like hand it to my children and say, we're going on a journey. Or I could hand it to someone and say, hey, we're going to an event. Like say me and Mike were going to an event and we were taking our gear with us. Like we could go through this, and it's things like, it's like actions at the drop off point, right? You're like, all right, well, sweet. All right. So rather than that, like I know that one thing Michael jumped straight in there and say is, okay, actions on like loading, so like actions on like loading the vehicle at the, at the start point. So like if we were leaving HQ or whatever, what goes in the vehicle, what products are coming with us? Do we have tables? Do we have the coffee pot? Do we have this, that, and the other? Do we have all the tools we require? And then, but like actions on the drop off point, do you know where you're going? Do you know where you're parking your vehicle? When you get there, who's going to pick up the passes to get you in?
It's true, mate. That anti-poaching stuff that I've been doing.
Yeah.
One of the biggest clusterfucks ever that the guys used to struggle with was if they were doing mobility, and they obviously use a lot of vehicles all the time, but it would turn into a proper rolling goat fuck as soon as you dismounted from the vehicles. And it was just purely because a simple thing of they haven't worked out a decent load plan, so that when they dismount the vehicle, they can get straight into a patrol formation and move off, instead of getting out of the vehicle, especially at night, and then just standing around in a big group going, oh, where's the fucking lead scout? Where's the fucking 2IC? And all this, And it wasn't until you did such a simple thing as to teach them a vehicle load plan, and so they could work it out themselves to then get on in the reverse order of march. So the lead scout is the first person off the rear of the vehicle, etc., etc. It's just simple, doing the basics well in that instance, help them out massively. And then when you build them up to contact drills, doing it with the vehicles and having to dismount, it just makes the thing a whole sight easier,
Yeah, I think that load plan's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't think enough people have that on anything, like, in the way they do their business. It's like, lastminute.com, chuck it all in, or lastminute.com, grab the seat that's required,
Yeah.
That's something that people could definitely use.
Famous last words as well, mate. Who's got the keys? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
It's true though. Where's the keys, man? Have you checked?
Yeah,
Simple
wallet,
like
keys, all that kind of stuff.
It's mate.
Who locked the house? Who turned the lights off?
That's right.
Mate, yeah, you're not wrong, because we went for a walk the other week, got back, and was like, who's got the keys to open the house back up? Like,
Really?
I don't, yeah, mate, yeah, literally. We got back to the back door, we were like, well, I didn't lock up, you lock up, I didn't lock up. Like, nobody locked up the keys in the door.
Oh, mate, that's amazing.
Hey, it's human beings, mate. We're fallible,
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah, rolling out, mate.
But,
yeah.
The next one on the line is actions on halt, right? And I, to be honest with you, because I do that journey down to Cambridge and back every other weekend, like over 300 miles I kind of got used to the fact that I could, there was the services on the road and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden this thing happened where, you wanted to minimize that. And I've gone back to being really good at like making sure I have loads of stuff. And if we are stopping, what does that look like for me? Like, do I get out? Do I wear a mask? Do I have gloves? Fuel in the car, petrol? I was like, wow, this stuff has like really refocused me on actions.
I didn't realise you were so into dogging, but
mate, yeah, always a mask and gloves for that.
Yeah.
Do you have an
PJs
animal
bargain and
mask?
everything.
Do you like, one of those like, I'm the owl.
It's true though.
What?
You
That
think
you're the
about
owl?
all these things, man. Yeah.
It is. It is because, especially like you say, Neil, like you had.
I love it. Of course, it's
You
descended.
had,
Yeah,
Only took 40 minutes.
yeah, Jesus.
yeah. I'm the
Yeah.
owl. Where did that come from?
But,
Tune into the Norwich Lounge for more on the owl.
Oh,
Yeah.
and our cracking owl sanctuary. Yeah.
I need
I'll
to
put
get
the link in the
plastic owl now.
bio if anyone wants to tune in.
Brilliant. Yeah, tune into Norwich Lounge. Yep. So anyway, while we're on the Norwich Lounge, I was going to do an alternate Norwich Lounge. but
Okay.
Put those initials
clothed one?
together. No. No. Alternate Norwich Lounge. Yeah.
Nice.
Aim fight.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Anyway, so Neil's journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got used to the routine of like everything being open, and it's like that action's on, isn't it? Like action's on, like, the out of the routine. It's like, go. What are you going to do now? Where you were stopping before is now, no longer open. There's no fuel there, and you can't stop for a piss. So what's your actions on? And it's that whole like planning for us. You'd be like, oh, that's okay. I've got this rough plan in my head anyway. Because you always plan. What happens if I get, like, I know I do it now. I'm thinking, I'll stop at the next place for fuel. And then, but if that's not open, my plan is this, and this. You do it even without, like, making it a plan. But I don't know.
Well, you do it subconsciously, yeah.
Mate, I don't know if normal people do that. Or they just, like, get there and go, oh, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's why you get fuckers dragged off Penny Fan wearing fucking jeans and flip-flops because they've
And
gone up the
trainers,
top
man.
and then
Yeah.
Mountain Rescue
Yeah.
had to rescue them, because they've been
Yeah.
boneheads.
Yeah. I walked to the top
Happens.
of the hill in his trainers.
It's
and
sunny.
501.
It's a sunny day. It's not changeable.
It's
Yeah.
not, weather is not
It's only the
variable.
breaking beacons. It's fine.
It goes back to how
It's
we
true though.
Yeah.
we pick each other
Yeah.
apart and do our business. I know we said we wouldn't cover like COA development. However, we do like red team at the crap out of each other. Like I would say, I do it to myself internally now, but I'd say, this plan is like, this is my ideal plan. If this doesn't work out, this is my other option. If that one
Yeah.
doesn't work, this is like
Yeah.
option number 3. And you do it all the time. But I think what we could all be better at is doing it in advance of things.
Mate,
So not just having,
mate, definitely. I've been
not
doing
just
that for
having those
48
routines.
years. Still haven't worked out yet.
Yeah, well, it's a nightmare. My missus, she snaps at me, because she'll dear, and then I work out multiple covers
mate,
for that idea.
Don't do
And I
that.
might
That's the
spend
bloke thing.
an
Don't do
hour
it.
or so just so I'll spend an hour or so grumping over it, and then work it out, and then but it's just a legitimate idea, and then we can't help but race through loads of covers.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, really.
Mate, yeah.
Yep.
And you do though, don't you? Somebody says this is a problem, and within minutes you're like planning in your head. You're like, we could do this, this, and this, or we could do this, this, and this. This one's works for this. We could put this together here, and you end up with a COA, and then you're like, but I've got the solution. And like, I don't actually want the solution. I just want to solve my problem.
It's just an
Like,
idea.
brilliant.
Yeah. I just wanted to tell you. I'm like, yeah, but it's sorted now.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Yeah, doesn't matter.
I didn't want it sorted. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yes. Mate, yeah.
actions on ambush. That I'll tick that one off.
Yeah.
We won't. That one pretty much covered then.
Don't need that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, even those worshippers the other day, they I'm not sure that they had their sort of vehicle contact drills squared away because some bishop or something, when he's spraying people with water pistols as they went past. Yeah, I mean,
Where's that?
I would have been like contact right, D-bus left, or whatever you want to call it. But
Mate, brilliant.
I'll rattle them off then. So obviously actions on the objective, actions on contact, actions on enemy pre-scene, actions on ambush. I think we've got there POWs and casualties, but I don't think that's something I broke down on the, not broke down, and it just, what Dunk said brought it back to my mind was, I had a flat tire 2 weekends ago, and I had to change it on the side of the road. And in the car, you know, I had like a high-vis vest and the gloves and all this, that, and the other. And I was just like, at what point did I plan all of this? Do you know what I mean? I had the flat, and I was like, you know, obviously had my mini moment, you know, and about it all, and then got out and started changing it. But I went in the boot, and there's like a little bag in there, and it's got all these bits and pieces. And I was just like, whoever that person was, obviously past Neil, that put all that in there. I was like, you're a good dude. In that moment.
It sorted it.
I love it when you do that. Accidental admin.
I was like,
but how many times do you see people at the side of the road, especially on like dual carriageways and stuff, you know, they've got a flat tire and they've called out the AA or the RAC, and you're like, mate, come on.
But at what point did you rehearse that?
Don't. It's just.
You watch. I'll get a flat tire later when I go shopping.
If you do, Pete, give me a call.
Yeah, I will. I won't call the AA or the RAC. I'll call you guys. Let you know how much of a douchebag I was.
Emergency service.
Yeah.
But it's true, like, you know, a little bit of preparation could just save so much drama, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you think you're applying that, like, in your core business that you do every day at the moment, like outside of like the military?
Do you know, mate? This sounds pretty niche, Neil. Which you know, but genuinely, right? See, as an amputee, you've got to think about, you know, you're going out on a journey, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing the next thing. You've got to think, hang on a minute. I always carry in my wallet a little 5mm Allen key, because that is the universal size of the Allen key fittings on my legs. And the amount of times, genuinely, right, it just happens wear and tear, I suppose. One of the little bolts comes loose and all the rest of it, and it just starts a chain of events. And this is ridiculous, but I've been walking through London and my foot actually fell off my leg. Right? And this is how I learned the hard way, man, right? And it was outside a camera shop in the middle of London. And I was like, oh, fuck, what am I going to do? And literally, like, my foot is, so I've got my foot in one hand, I've still got my socket on, and I've got my one leg. And I'm literally, mate, I'm like stranded. And it was just good luck. I'm outside a camera shop, and I managed to get to the doorway. And I said, "Excuse me, mate, have you got the Allen keys?" And he's like, "Why?" And I literally flashed my foot round the corner, and I went, "My foot's fallen off." And the guy looked at me like, "What?" And he had a little rustle about in his drawer, and he found an Allen key, mate. And we squared it away. I mean, literally 2 minutes, mate. It's nothing, you know. Just I'll tell you what it's like. It's like the you know, the bolts and then the nuts and bolts on the old SUSAT, or if the zero in your
yeah.
It's like left and right bolts, yeah. And it's just like that for you.
Oh, like those.
Yeah, it's like tracking. So now, learnt the hard way. I am never without an Allen key, and it's never happened again. But it's sod's law, isn't it? It's like not checking. And mate, I learnt the hard way, and I was like, why would I ever go out without an Allen key again? Stupid, but you know, it's one of them things, isn't it?
Yeah, that is unique. I mean, obviously, I'm not tightening up my foot on a regular basis, but yeah, it's like,
well, you should be.
Yeah, I should be. I'm spoiled. That's the problem. I'm spoiled.
Should be. Yeah. Mate, I'm gonna have to dip out the conversation in a minute because I've got a Zoom with my boss.
That's cool.
Really important.
Sorry, man.
I guess it's probably a good point to sort of wrap it up. Obviously, thanks for taking the time. I think there's some like in lessons there. Obviously, people have to dig into them themselves and start. We didn't write, you know, we didn't put it in any sort of like checklist or anything. But you know, from working on the savannas in Africa to tighten up your feet to making sure that your shorts are hanging on the door in the Norwich Lounge, you know, I think there's something there for everybody, even if it is just, hey, find out where the stopcock is and, you know, and that kind of stuff, or where your spare tire is on your car. Thanks for the time this morning, lads. I appreciate it.
Hey, it's
No
good
worries.
fun.
No worries. Yeah,
Sorry for the shit dits.
that's all right.
That's what
Pete,
it's about.
We'll
I've
live
always
with it,
got shit dits, mate.
Don't
All on it.
apologise for me, Wallaceed.
You were the best, Slater. You were the best, mate.
You've got the best bread.
Oh, we
Oh,
never
yeah?
saw the bread.
Nice.
Let's wrap it
Oh, I
up.
saw a picture
Oh.
yesterday.
I saw the
Oh, I
picture
sent you a
yesterday.
picture.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
lovely.
Whoa.
Get a picture, Neil.
When I bake my
Yeah.
bread, I'm putting it out there and people can see
Yeah,
it.
put it
I
out
was
there,
gonna
mate. I'll
say,
send you it after, Neil, you know,
this-
in a private message so you can
Thank you,
get
mate.
off on my bread.
Well, it's the only reason I tuned in this morning was just to get to see the finished product from the baking
Oh,
yesterday.
right.
Next time we're coming on.
Cracking loaf.
Yeah, cracking
Yeah.
loaf. Neil will be in his owl
Cracking
mask
loaf.
and Pete will have his bread.
Perfect. We'll be more
Fucking hell,
organised next time.
yeah.
Right.